Great. Hello and welcome back to our LinkedIn Live series on Human First CEOs. My name's Nick Maida and I'm the CEO of Gainsight, and I've been honored to be able to bring a number of friends and fellow CEOs onto the show over the last few weeks to talk about how business isn't just about driving success for the bottom line, but it's also about driving success for all of our stakeholders and thinking of them all as human beings. And that's what we think about as human first leadership is all about. So I'm really excited to welcome to our stage and show Christal Bemont. Christal's the CEO of Talend, data integration software company, publicly traded company, and relatively new CEO, having joined the company in January. So welcome, Christal.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure, and we have a long history with Gainsight, so I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome, and I'm really excited to hear about your 6 months so far at Talend, which, as we were saying, is probably like 6 years in normal time, given everything that's happened in 2020. Before we do that, though, I like to give everyone a sense of kind of the personal side of the folks that we bring onto the show. And so I always like to start with an icebreaker. And right now, the icebreaker du jour is about quarantine. So we're all quarantined with people. In my case, our 3 kids, my wife, our dog. It's been great. You're quarantined. I'd love to maybe if you share your situation or where you're quarantined, who's there with you, and then if you could have a celebrity or famous person, past, present, future, they're quarantining with you, who would you choose?
Well, I know just because we've been on calls together, I have a couple little rescue kitties that are here with me. I'm in Redwood City, which is just a few minutes away from the corporate office, which is kind of been the kind of comedy of moving from Chicago to Redwood City to be very close to the office to then be in an apartment is basically for almost the entire time. But so I've had the great fortune of having one of my 2 daughters, Brooke, with me for a large majority of the time, which was a great pleasure. And it was time that would have otherwise we wouldn't have had. So I look at that as a major silver lining. And, I basically, have just been getting to know this apartment very well. But, I think of the, kind of celebrity piece is maybe a little bit differently. And that is, there probably aren't that many celebrities that I'd really say I'd want to be spending a quarantine time with, although I know you said Dennis Rodman in your last, so I'm curious if that would still be the case or if you've given that more thought, Nick, because, I look at it maybe slightly differently, and that is I'd love to spend some time with some business leaders. There's some that I really have spent a lot of time studying and thinking a lot about. Jack Ma's one of those. And I don't know if you've spent much time getting to know a little bit about who he is as a person and what drove him, but his story is amazing. If you haven't, I would highly recommend it. He is a story of resilience. He tells a lot about, he never had a background or anything that gave him any advantage in life. And quite frankly, met with resistance in terms of even the simplest of things. Like I think he applied for a different school, tried to get into Harvard 10 times, tried to get a job at Kentucky Fried Chicken, and there were 4 jobs. He was the 5th. There were 5 people interviewing, 4 jobs open. He didn't get the job. I mean, just the smallest of things and the biggest of things that have happened in life, he struggled to achieve. But his story is so amazing because he just had a mindset of, he believed he wanted to serve a purpose of helping people. And Alibaba was really intended to give people an opportunity to, have a community of commerce in ways that they couldn't quite reach people. And, he almost gave up on Alibaba because so many people and so many things were happening where he wasn't making money. And the only thing that kept him going was the letters that he was getting from his customers, where they said, you're making such a big difference in my life. And had it not been for Alibaba, they wouldn't have been able to, put food on the table and have a way of making a living. And so he kept going. And now it's an incredible success story. So I think the more you can surround yourself with ideas like that and mindset and people like that, I'm all about. So, but maybe, I don't know, do you have a business leader or someone that you follow, Nick? I'm just curious.
Each week it's different, I would say. So I would say on a non-business leader, the one that's top of mind is very, very top of mind given Friday is Lin-Manuel Miranda, who I am a obsessed Hamilton geek. I've seen it 4 times in person. I watched it on Disney Plus.
Yes.
I would probably annoy him to death if he was with us though, because I'd be rapping the whole album to him really badly.
Yes.
He'd just be
I
smacking
love
us
it.
all the time. And then, but business leader wise, there's so many. I'm sure it's just like you. Like I admire so many people. I learn from so many people. Just people like yourself and others. The one I'm reading right now is I'm reading Shoe Dog. A little bit late to the party, but it's about Phil Knight, founder of Nike, and it truly is a remarkable story. We know Nike today as a company, but just like the backstory and how they created it, I highly recommend it. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, there's so many incredible stories, and it is interesting just to look at what people have been able to accomplish when you look at it from the other side, once it's happened, but what they went through at the time.
That's
and
right.
That resilience. So, well, that's awesome.
And I think Jack Ma is a good launching point because he's the founder of Alibaba, amazingly successful entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I don't know a ton about him, but there's a famous story about him speaking to his shareholders at an earnings call, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and where he said that he doesn't care as much about every individual investor because they can always leave. And who he cares about the most are his team and then his customers. And he cares about the investors, but he kind of thinks about all the stakeholders. I think he's done an amazing job of that. And that's what we think about in this concept of human first leadership, is looking at all the stakeholders in your business. And so what we're going to talk about is how you and Talend think about your community around you, your teammates, your customers, and then your shareholders as well. Kind of like looking at all those different lenses. And community, I think, is an important place to start because you and I have both been CEOs during 2020, which is definitely a year of like, if you have to bring your full CEO skills to bear, and we talk about things we haven't historically talked about as much, we should have been talking about, but now we're finally sort of in the stage there to talk about it. One of the big ones is equality and equal opportunity. And there's a lot of lenses on that, right?
Right.
There's been a discussion for many years about bringing more gender equality to tech. I know I'd love to hear your team's done a lot on that. And then, probably you've had the discussion internally about racial equality and obviously Black Lives Matter, all the things that have come up in the last, couple months to the national stage. So just love to hear about that discussion within Talend, how you think about that.
Yeah, well, at Talend, first and foremost, for those that aren't familiar, we focus on helping people really make good use of data. We really strive to help, change the way that the world is able to leverage data. And we do that through integrating in quality of data and ultimately trust of data. But, when I think about all those different constituents and the different community that surrounds us, the foundation of that is surrounding yourself with diversity. The ability to power anything that you're going to do, whether it's talent or anything else, it comes down to having a diverse set of thoughts, a diverse, mindset, a diverse team, and that's including partners. That's certainly. We serve a diverse set of customers, our employees. We are a global company that is French domiciled. So, we actually have roots that are in a large portion of our organization in France, but we're in 13 countries around the world. And, we think about it in a very broad way. And then there are gender and other types of diversities, race, religion, every type of diversity that we think about. And at the core of that, I think the more that we can not just talk about putting those types of things forward, but actually put action behind it. And that's the thing that we've really been spending a lot of time on because, coming into Talend, myself being a female CEO, that garnered a lot of attention. And I was a bit surprised by it. Maybe I shouldn't have been. I've learned a little bit since the Nick, as we do. But I think education is everything, and educating yourself and being aware and then figuring out what you can do, and every person matters in that. So it's a really important topic, and unfortunately the events that have occurred most recently with some of the social unrest and the the things that have happened over the last few months have been really, really unfortunate. I will take from that, what can we do to be better? And what can we do to have a role in making sure that we improve the outcome where we can? So it's a really important topic to me.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that about, being a woman and CEO of Talend. And, as you probably know, in software, publicly traded companies, there aren't, the women are heavily underrepresented.
I've heard.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Given what I do at the public SaaS stocks, and that's sort of our target market, and yeah, there are only a handful of women, at various points, 2 or 3 out of 50 or 60. So yeah, here's to things getting more representation going forward. And one of the other things that happened in the community is obviously all of this disruption to health, to economy, and a lot of the way forward to make progress is us understanding what's happening. And at the end of the day, it's about data. And I think Talend has done interesting things to help communities and municipalities use data to make better decisions. You want to talk about how you've been helping the community during these times?
Yeah, I would love to. First and foremost, it was when we were just talking about what kind of action can we take as the pandemic really was unfolding. And this was as much about helping our employees feel like they were taking part in helping, as well as what is our opportunity and responsibility, just like a lot of tech companies and other companies were looking around, seeing how they could help. And, from our standpoint, we were able to look at what is a really interesting thing that's playing out that I think is a precursor to what we see in the world of business, which is a lot of people, but certainly a lot of then subsequently information that's coming together from a health perspective to try to solve for either finding solutions, vaccines, understanding of the virus, and bringing all the data together is an opportunity like we've never seen before. And I think it's interesting because it's almost what, like I said, we see happening where IoT and Edge bring all this data together. And then the question is, what can we do with it? How quickly can we act on it? And our ability to help with providing some of our solutions for free, creating some integrations, but really taking that data and making it useful so that whether the health database, all these different pieces of information that are coming together, the faster that we can make that useful and put it in the hands of the right people. And that's about structuring the data, making sure that we clean it, make sure that we transform it, make sure that we can really put it in a position where it becomes something of an instrument as opposed to just a collection of data. And there's a big opportunity for us to help. It also helped us provide an outlet for our employees who wanted to act on that. And I think that was an important part of making sure that we could do both internal and externally serve our community. I think the piece about you just going back to diversity, though, this just interestingly though is the one time I think in my lifetime where every person, every country around the world, regardless of race, religion, cultural beliefs, in the position we come from, has all come together. And so it's been an amazing thing to see that. But then at the same time, some of the results of that have come from some of the unrest that we've seen then subsequently that then reminds you how far we have to go, quite frankly.
Yeah, it is an interesting paradox. 2020 is kind of a strange year of unity and discord. It's a year of progress and moving backward. It's like all these things all at once, which is certainly is.
I believe one of the conversations we had, Nick, you have at Gainsight put some focus and have put some programs in place, I believe, and I don't remember the details behind it, but some of the underserved and under, I would say, represented constituents, and from a customer standpoint, I'm just curious what that looked like, because I haven't had a chance to ask you, actually.
Yeah, totally. No, we're in the process of launching it. So it's sort of this is you could call it beta right now, just finalizing it, but we'll be launching in a few weeks. The idea is basically that, as you know, because you were at Concur before, for folks that don't know, very successful early SaaS company acquired by SAP, and you were running all of global sales there. And in the SaaS business, whether you're at Concur, whether you're at Talend, other companies, you got to sell customers, then you got to keep them. Customer success management is about keeping and growing your existing customers. And that is, according to LinkedIn, the 6th most promising job in the world in 2019. And so it's a job where, companies like Talend are trying to hire people, and there's not enough people out there. Literally, it's growing super fast. And so we took a step back and said, okay, we're just a 700-person company. How can we help in this grand scheme of things? Well, maybe we can help through the career that we serve, because this customer success career could be a new on-ramp for more people to get into technology. And you and I both know that technology has accrued a lot of amazing benefits to folks like yourself and myself, but it hasn't, the opportunity hasn't been opened up to everyone, right? There's a lot of people who just don't have access to technology, particularly in this economy, right? and to getting into these companies. And we think there's an opportunity for CSM, which is such an in-demand and new job, to be an on-ramp for people to come in. And so what we are going to be creating and launching is an apprenticeship program. And we're partnering with organizations that focus on this concept of apprenticeship to get into technology for underrepresented communities and basically help them change the trajectory of their income. Because a lot of the folks that don't have access to these privileged worlds you and I live in, their future income is kind of capped out, minimum wage or a little bit more than that. And how much income you can get in technology, which can change your life and your family's life, is so much more. And so can we create a program where we basically train people in partnership with another organization on working in tech, and then train them on customer success, and then have them kind of rotate into internships at tech companies to do customer success for a few months, see if they like it, and then potentially make that a full-time thing. And it's really like a classic example of how we call this principle success for all, because it's going to drive success for these people that are underrepresented, but it's also going to help companies like you're and mine, because we just want access to more people, right? And it's going to help our businesses. So it's sort of this thing where it helps both sides. And so we're excited. We'll be announcing it more formally in a few weeks.
I love it. And it is the thing that when I think about how to help and what you do to actually put, an actionable plan in place, it's such a great idea. And it also represents something that in my own life I've experienced, and, really is the reason why I have the opportunities I have, is that, sometimes what just someone needs is that one opportunity, the one place to open the door to walk in. And I think that is such an amazing gift, is to find a way to open the doors for as many people. And that is what we need to do as much as we possibly can. So you should let us know how we could help you in any way on that. But I'm 100% behind you. And I think that's a fabulous idea.
I will. Yeah, we're actually going to ask to see if folks want to bring in interns into their companies. So I'll follow up with you on that.
Yeah, you let me know. I think that's brilliant.
So switching gears then to the second kind of theme, which is, okay, we have our teammates and actually creating opportunity for them, driving success for them. And I think some of your backstory is very interesting there, because you most recently came from a big tech company, SAP Concur. You're CEO of a public company, but you grew up in a very non-traditional background for kind of tech executives. Talk about your childhood.
Sure. I mean, I'd love to. It's a upbringing that at the time, maybe I didn't appreciate how much it was going to serve me later in life. I grew up in for my formative life, at least, I grew up in a rural community in Missouri, and it was a situation of, is pretty much, really true farm to table. This was anything you could catch or grow was basically what you had to eat. It wasn't the easiest of circumstances with, no running water, electricity, and, indoor plumbing, things, just basic essentials. And many times, just trying to figure out how to put food on the table. When you're a 10-year-old kid, from that time until you leave at the age of 16, it's really has a massive impact on you. And, what it has done, I think, and very much why I talked about Jack Ma, is, I look at it and think how transformational those experiences were for me in terms of the way that I think about what's possible, my mindset, how I think about that same thing that we were just talking about of helping someone, because really there were people that have been instrumental in my life that during times where I really needed, to have the opportunity, they've given me an opportunity and I've run through the door. And so I look at that and think, those are experiences at the time I didn't appreciate how valuable they are. And you're just kind of putting it in context of COVID, coming into being a first-time CEO and, having COVID right on the doorstep. This is where that kind of mindset and being resilient and saying, okay, I know how to get through hard times, and I know there's the other side of this. The question is not if you're going to get to the other side, it's how are you going to get through it, and what are you going to look like on the other side? And I think just from a leadership perspective, I think people need that. I hope that it's helped my perspective in Talend. I think it's important to have someone that knows that you can get through tough times. But I also think that it gives you some clarity about, what it takes, because you've been through it. And so that upbringing, I honestly look back on it and I wouldn't change a single thing, because I think it has been a gift, honestly.
Well, I think resilience is definitely the word of the day, and it's so important
Yeah.
this year, right? What we're going through. And I'd love to click in then on thinking about your team and being a CEO starting in January, having a vision of probably the culture you want to help, grow and maybe evolve as you bring in your own fingerprints into it. And then kind of jumping in with COVID. So now you have to kind of think about culture from two lenses. How did you think about evolving the culture and your teammates, keeping them safe and secure during these challenging times?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I walked into Talend and it had an amazing culture to start with. The baseline, the foundation was incredible. And it was one of the things that, coming from an organization I'd spent 15, almost 16 years at, sometimes and often the reason why you stay is because of the people. You love what you do and you love the people you surround yourself with. And I think that's incredibly important. And so walking in, I thought, well, this is going to be almost like first day at school. You just don't know what you're going to expect. And if people are going to embrace change. And I have been blown away by the people that we have at Talend. And I love the diverse culture that we have. And when I was able to get out on the road very quickly, I just wish I would have had more time. The people that I met in every part of our organization, in Maidenhead or in Seren, different parts of our company, are incredible individuals. So the culture to begin with was amazing. But it really did put to the test not only my beliefs about what it should be, but really about how do you lead through a time of crisis or challenge. And so it was at that point thinking about how important communication is, vulnerability. And this is where some of the core beliefs of being authentic and saying, I'm going to show up in a way that maybe expresses how other people are feeling, where it's okay to not be okay all the time, where you really need to be able to have people feel like they don't have to pretend that everything's okay. This is a struggle. People are going through a struggle. And I think transparency and, just the leading with, both, we have a job to do, but we also know that people are working at home with their kids at home and trying to figure out how to get food from the grocery store. So this is real stuff that people are dealing with, and to pretend it's not would be a disservice. And so just being honest about that and saying, let us figure out how we can help with physical security, which was part of a kind of a baseline plan, mental and emotional health, and then the financial or the business health, because we want to make sure that we do the right by this company and what we see in front of us, but also our customers really relied on us and our partners. So it was putting, I think, going back to the word action, taking the things that I just believed and putting them into action, and making sure that we lived the words that we believed in.
That's amazing. There's so much that resonates with me out of what you said. We're huge fans of vulnerability at Gainsight, Brene Brown, and just that power of us being our true authentic selves. And actually, for me personally, I had to find that, bring that, my natural positivity and energy and all that with the, it's okay to not be okay. I use that exact expression.
Did you say that? Okay. I was wondering if that was a
exact
expression. Maybe take that the wrong way, but it is, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think we're sitting here in July, and it's almost easy to forget how raw people felt in March and April, that we're emotionally raw, scanning the news constantly, reading about all this crazy stuff happening. And learning how to deal with people in that level of emotional fraughtness was, I think, a big leadership lesson probably for all of us.
Is that what inspired you to write the blog post that you did on kind of the human first CEO?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, what happened was actually what inspired me was honestly meeting people like you and seeing that the definition, the job spec for a CEO had changed, right? Like the job spec for CEO in 2010 or 2005 or whatever was, make shareholders more money, right? And that's super important. And we all can't do anything we do with our shareholders. But the job spec for the CEO has expanded, and it now has many sets of needs on thinking about your teammates, physical security and emotional health, and thinking about your community around us, and obviously thinking about your customers, and being able to be vulnerable and confident at the same time, and understand people's emotions. And we've all had to expand the toolkit. We don't, the old stuff still matters. We have to grow our revenue, improve our profits. All those things are still there, but I feel like the job is expanded. And so we're calling it human first CEO. So yeah, I think it's a new world. It's better for the world, I think.
Yeah, it really does put to the test, being really intentional with the way you show up, and when you're sitting behind a Zoom, 90+% of when you're working. So it does require a very intentional way that you show up, and also communication style and skills. So
that's exactly right.
I love that.
I think that's a big thing we've all gotten better at this year. And you were talking about before as we were preparing, which is communication. It's like that's always been a big job of leadership, but this year it's sort of amplified and Zoomified to the next level. So if that's a word.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and I did have a little experience with it, working from home pretty much the majority of my career, certainly for the last, I'd say 15, almost 16 years. And it was definitely, again, an experience where I didn't realize how invaluable it was going to be. And then, just seeing that it really is something that that you think about the impact of. I've traversed it now, but it took some getting used to. And also, I think this idea of productivity of, well, people are so much more productive. And I worry a little bit about the sustainability of our people. And, productivity, this is a very unrealistic situation that we're in to measure productivity. I do think that there's some very obvious gains, but I also think that we are going to ask our employees to work like this, because they literally can't leave their house in some cases. So of course they're going to be working. So I just think some of these things that have come, I've kind of worked through in my mind before. And I think there are great opportunities of things we've learned through this, but also maybe some misnomers as well.
I really agree with you on that. I think that somebody used a good analogy the other day, which was, we're running on reserves. I think that you and I both went to, where they said, we're living off of reserves right now, but eventually you run out of the reserves. And I think that's something we have to watch out for. And we, not burning our team out. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. All those analogies that we use so much. So the other kind of theme is, we talked about our community, we talked about our teams, and we got our customers. Obviously, I'm contractually obligated to talk about customer success at every setting I'm in. So that's my life. And but I think I want to talk about customer success in Talend. But before I do that, I want to talk about what success means for your customers, because you provide technology that can kind of be behind the scenes, helping companies use data better, make it more high quality, analyze it better, process it better. And so when you think about like the end success for your customers, and when you talk to them, what does success mean for them?
Well, first, I think just in the spirit of the conversation of COVID, it's changed a bit. I think to some degree, it still has the core organic components. It's just the sense of urgency maybe has changed, and the importance or the criteria by which to heighten the need to basically be able to use data in a meaningful way. And so success, the way that I look at it, and first of all, I measure our company on our ability to make our customers successful. That's long-term sustainability, is all about building a very large customer base that feels the value is a continued evolution of, ways that we can help them improve the way they run their business. And data is the heart of, it's kind of the water, right? It's something you can't live without. And it's so interesting because what we were seeing before COVID is, it was a great opportunity for digital transformation, to move, things to the cloud and start to have a digital, strategy. The reality is, when COVID hit, it became a requirement. It became for the companies that could afford to do something. They had to do, digital transformation. They had to move in this direction to say, we have to recalibrate, and we really need to really reassess what's in front of us to the best of our ability. And that all comes down to looking at new data sets and looking at information in a way that helps inform, re-instrument where they're going and where they need to pivot. And there's so many new conditions. And so when I think about what success, it still has those core components of, we put our goal is to make sure that customers can get to the data that they need, that it is, it's the information they need that's complete and accurate, and those are basic core components. But we go even further and say, look, just like you'll see in some of these, maybe you've seen some of the reports, as people are trying to look for answers with COVID, you will see some of the maybe it's clinical studies, or maybe it's some of the assessments that have been made, that they have come to find out that the data was inaccurate. It wasn't complete, it wasn't quality. And what's so critical here is that if you think about the one thing that every single business runs on, they run on and have to have a reliance on a set of data that they're trying to use to make decisions. And so our goal in that is to make sure that it's all there, that it is of completeness and quality, but it goes beyond that, and that it's something that they can say emphatically that they can trust it. Because there's so many times right now where people are looking at data and they're just looking at it, spending most of the time trying to figure out if they can trust it. And so for us, did we put people in a position to be able to make good business decisions? That's how we measure value for our business.
That's really good. I think that's for a lot of companies and people watching, like, you need to articulate your customers' value before you talk about your internal CS practices. And I'll switch gears then to the internal side. So you have a CS team, and now run by one of your former colleagues from Concur. Talk about how customer success as a motion fits into your business model inside Talend.
Yeah, so this was really important to me. So we did not have a chief customer officer when I came on board. Jamie Kaiser, who is a highly, highly valued colleague that I've worked with for years and is amazing. When I came in, we both needed a chief revenue officer and then someone to run customer success. And, when I looked at that, I thought, for me, when I think about a business and I turn this on the inside, I think about, what am I really building? I'm building a customer organization. That's what I'm building. I'm building a business that is intended to support hundreds of thousands, if not millions of customers. That's my goal. And my ability to do that starts with the customer in mind. So it has to take a customer first mindset. So how do we build that? And how do we make sure that we get so close to our customers that we understand, what they need from us and how we can show up? So we have this measurement called time to value, for example. So we really put this into Jamie Kaiser, who's my chief customer officer, and her entire team, who's amazing, really working to understand what is it that our customers need, how quickly can they get value, and how can we make sure that we continue to show up in a meaningful way. And that becomes our customer life cycle. When you build that in the way where you start to model what that looks like, that informs everything we do, from the product all the way through to go to market, all the way through to how we really start to engage with new clients and thinking about them becoming part of that customer journey. So it is the starting point for us in our process for looking at other ways that we affect our business and we inform our business. So it's critical, and it's been amazing to see what Jamie's done in a very short amount of time to continue to move the needle on that.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's really changed and evolved, and probably over the time you were at Concur, it's evolved from this kind of tactical function that's,
totally
keep the customers, make them happy, to being something that the CEO thinks about as part of her core strategy of the company. Yeah, that's really great. And then the last kind of last stakeholder I want to hit on is obviously I think I just a little blip there. Last stakeholder I want to hit on is our shareholders. So important, obviously, in running our companies. And this downturn creates a bump for us all, and just in terms of unexpected stuff, but also creates an opportunity for all of us to come out stronger on the other side. And you want to talk a little bit about the mindset you're trying to give your company to make sure you come out on the other side even stronger than you entered.
Yeah, well, this goes back a little bit to what we were talking about before in terms of when you're in a crisis of whatever case it may be. And this is kind of some of my background, really. I think grit and determination and being resolute on what you will do and what you won't do is really critical. And so, coming in, I saw an amazing opportunity to continue to evolve, not only in terms of, our position in the marketplace, but more importantly, and as importantly maybe, is the number of customers we can serve in bigger and better ways. And so how do we really start to show up in a way that customers feel that they're getting a tremendous amount of value? And I think more than maybe even what we're doing today, just in some of the things we offer. And I saw a great opportunity. And I see this opportunity, and then COVID. So when I looked at that, and as I thought about how the shareholders would benefit, I thought, well, we have a couple decisions to make. We can either just stand still and just kind of hunker down, or we can continue on the path of evolving so that ultimately our shareholders benefit from this for sure, but that our customers are going to continue to get value that is meaningful and drive sustainability for this company. And we, kind of talk about things like Talend transforming and the way that we show up in the market and the way that we do things internally, and running at a clip and at a pace that I know this opportunity for us to help customers deserves. How quickly we get people up and running and time to value. So I looked at it and said, well, we have a choice. We're either going to pause and see what happens with COVID, or we're going to run through this and make sure that we come out on the other side stronger. And that's exactly what we've decided to do. We have worked tirelessly to make sure that everything we do is pointed at the future and coming out of this stronger, and making sure that we can leverage our partner network, who has been amazing, and our customers to help us stay informed, to really transform the way that we show up and provide value. So ultimately, that should have a direct impact and correlation to our shareholders for sure.
That's awesome. And it sounds like you mentioned before, your CCO coming in, Jamie coming in, is a big part of this transformational strategy.
Yes.
We had a question from the audience, which is basically, what do you do internally to get every other function aligned around the importance of customer success and your existing customers? Have you done anything specifically as an executive team around that?
Yeah, it's a lot of this is just aligning around, how do we see ourselves? So I'll give you an example. So today, and a lot of the things that we engage with our customers on are a moment in time around, they have a particular opportunity or problem that they're trying to solve. And so we're part of the solution in terms of the ecosystem of ways that they're looking for opportunities to solve the problem. And I look at this and say, I believe we're more along the lines of a strategic business partner. Our goal is to, power your business on Talend, and to be a strategic business partner that when you think about how you run your data through your business, and not just the getting all the data there and the quality, but being the partner that helps you identify all the way down to an individual report, but certainly across lines of your business, that you can trust your data, measure the health of your data. Those are the kind of things that we look at being a strategic business partner. So when you pull that back and you say, what does it mean to be a strategic business partner to our customers? That goes across every single line of our business, every single part of our business, to say, how do we show up? What does that mean in the product? What does that mean even in our own operations in terms of how we work with our customers? So it's the entire organization starts to work in a way that starts to look at, what does it mean for us to provide that kind of value and to be aligned with our customers in that way? And so it's just getting lined up on what's the most important to us, how are we going to operate, and what do we believe in?
I love that. That's awesome. And I totally agree with you. That sort of driving, being a strategic partner depends on every function, not just the post-sale functions aligning together. So this has been a terrific discussion across a wide range of topics and kind of the new definition of leadership. I'll close out with some word association just to leave the audience with some fun things to take away. So I'll do four word associations, whatever comes to your mind first.
Okay.
Spit it out. So digital transformation.
Absolutely necessary. Critical.
Absolutely. Great. Critical. COVID-19.
Resilience.
Resilience. That's what it's teaching us. I agree. Customer success.
Value.
Value. That's a big word these days. And human first.
Authenticity.
Authenticity. I think you nailed it. And thanks for being so authentic with this audience today. Really appreciate you joining us. Thanks to all of you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Nick.